Hello and welcome to Prime Code Media. My name is Sana Mapena. In this video, I'll be discussing the position property, mainly focusing on default rules. The position property specifies how an element is positioned in a document. There are 5 different position values or positioning methods, and they are static, relative, fixed, absolute, and sticky. To position elements, top, bottom, left, and right properties are used. But for these top, bottom, left, and right properties to work, the position property, for example, relative, fixed, absolute, or sticky, must be set first. And how the properties work will depend on a set position value. For us to have a better grasp of all this, it's important that we first understand the default rules. First, HTML elements have default position rules. The default position of HTML elements is static. To show you where I am getting this, I have here an empty web page which I have already opened inside my browser right here. Inside this web page, I am going to add a level 1 heading, an H1, like so. And then I'm going to name or call this heading my profile. And then save it. Go into my browser, refresh. Now here is that level 1 heading. So I am going to open Chrome Developer Tools to inspect this H1 that I have just added right here. And then it's now opened inside my Chrome Developer Tools. So when I click on it or select it, it gets highlighted in blue at the top there. And then I'm going to come here to Computed. So this is the box model. And then when I scroll down here, you'll see that there are many default rules of this HTML element. Now I am going to scroll to position, which is one of these default rules. Now, as you can see, as I said earlier, the default position of this HTML element is static, as you can see it right here. Now, from position to appearance, the appearance of HTML elements comes from the content. What this means is that the size, that is the width and the height of the content, determines how large or small the elements will be displayed. So how this level 1 heading is displayed is determined by the type of content that I added here, which is a level 1 or an H1. For example, if I go into my code editor and change this H1 to H2, like so. So let me first save the changes and then go back to my browser. And then you'll see when I refresh, the size of this heading has changed. I did not specify the width or the height of this heading. All I did was just to change that H1 to H2, and that changed the width and the height of this heading. And now this puts into practice what I was saying earlier, and that is the content determines how large or small the elements will be displayed on the screen. The other rule is order. The order of the elements on our screen comes from our code. For example, let me come back to my code editor, and I am going to add 2 paragraphs like so. The first one will be my name. I'll just write my name. You can write yours. And then the second paragraph, I'll just write what I do. Web developer. And then let me save. and then go back to my browser and then refresh. Now here I have a heading, my profile. It's followed by my name, Sanama Pena, followed by what I do, which is web developer. Now this order comes from my code. This order comes from here. So if the way elements are ordered changes, the web page will display in a corresponding way. What this means is that if, for example, I cut this level 2 heading, cut and paste it right here at the bottom, and then save and come back here, refresh, you'll see now that the heading is no longer at the top, it is now at the bottom. And this is because if the way elements are ordered changes, the web page will display in a corresponding way. Now let me get this back to how it was earlier, that is return the heading to its rightful place, which is at the top here, and then go back and save my work here, go back to my browser and then refresh. So everything is back to how it was before I cut the profile and pasted it at the bottom. And then the final one is the staking context. This rule specifies which element will be displayed over another. So what this rule says is that elements that are children must sit or be carried by parent elements. To put this into practice, I am going to add a div inside my web page right here at the top. Let me add a div like so. And then I am going to cut my heading. Cut the heading and paste it inside the div. So this is the level 2 heading. Let me just return it to being a level 1 heading so that it's a bit larger. It's fine. Let me save here. So right now I have a div which is a parent element, and this div is carrying a child element, which in this case is this h1 heading or level 1 heading. So to have a clear view of this, I am going to give this div a background color. I'm going to do that inside my style sheet. I'm going to use the tag name div followed by a set of curly braces, background color. This is the CSS property, and then I'm going to give this div a let me give it a blue background color. Then save, go back to my browser and then refresh. Now as you can see, we have this blue background color. This is the background color of the parent element, which is a div. Okay, so the next thing that I am going to do, I am also going to give this h1 a background color. So remember, I have given the div a blue background color. Now I am also going to give this h1 a background color. I'm also going to do this inside my style sheet. So I'm going to use the tag name again, the h1. This is the element that I want to give a background color. I'll say background color. The background color, I'm going to give it a red background color. Let me save and then go back to my browser, refresh. You'll see that after refreshing, we now have a background color which is red. Why? What happened to the blue background color? The blue background color still exists, but we can't see it because it is a color of a parent element. So the red color now appears on top of the blue background color because the level 1 heading or the red element is a child of the div or the blue element. Let me right click here and inspect this profile inside the Chrome Developer Tools. So as you can see, here is that red background color. So this is the background color of the level 1 heading. You'll see when I uncheck this color here, now we are able to see the blue div or the blue element, which is in this case our div. So when I again check here, the blue color or background color, that is the background color of the div, disappears. And when I do this again, as you can see, removing the color of the level 1 heading or the red element enables us to see the background color of the parent element or the blue element, because the blue element is the parent element of the H1. We can take things a bit further and come back inside my code editor. Now what I am going to do right here, I am going to give this word profile here its own background color, and to do that I am going to use a span, which is an example or an inline element. So I have a span. Now I am going to cut the word profile and paste it inside the span right here, and then save. Now I've saved the changes. I'm going to go into my style sheet and use the span to target that word profile. So I'm going to use the tag name span, and then I'm going to give that word a background color. Let me give it a green background color. Let me save my work here and then go back to my browser and refresh. Now as you can see, the word profile, only the word profile now has a green background. So right now we have 3 elements. First, we have a div, which in this case we can say it is the blue element right here. The blue element is carrying a child element, which is the level 1 heading or the red element. And the red element is carrying a child element, which is a span or green element. This puts into practice the staking context, which, as I said earlier, says elements that are children must sit or be carried by parent elements. This rule introduces the Z index, which I discuss in detail in a separate episode. With that, we've come to the end of our discussion. In the next video, I discuss the relative property value. Please subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon to be notified when new videos come out. Until we code again next time, bye bye.